Today we are going to learn something very important in Python loops. They are the break, continue, and pass. These are three keywords that help you control the flow of loops. And once you understand them clearly, you will never struggle with loops again. Loops are great, but sometimes you want more control. And that is exactly why break, continue, and pass exist. We use them inside loops to change how the loop behaves. So let's start with a break. Here I have an example code for you to show, and here you can see this break here. Think of this break like a stop sign inside a loop. Here we have a for loop. So when the Python reaches this break statement, it immediately exits the loop, the for loop here, even if the loop condition is still true or there are more items to process. So in this simple working example, when you run this code, you can see it prints, the Python will print 1 and then 2. And when it reaches 3, the if condition statement becomes false and the break statement is executed. So the break kicks in and stops the loop completely. So the output is 1 and 2. The loop never goes beyond that because the break stops it right away. So the loop stops and we see no more output. So now let's talk about continue. Continue means skipping the rest of the current loop round and move to the next round right away. So it does not stop the loop completely. It just skips the remaining code, any code that you have in the loop block for this one iteration. So here is a working example, and you can see here that when I run this program, it prints 0, 1, 3 and 4. The 2 is skipped. So you can see as we run this for loop, Python will print, it begins with 0 and prints 1, and when I becomes true, 2, the condition becomes true. So this tells Python to go inside the if loop, and we have a continue here. So the continue tells Python to skip printing 2 and go to the next number. So it doesn't execute the next lines of code. You might have 100 lines of code after the continue. All of those lines are skipped and the loop goes to the next round, the next iteration, and then it starts with 3, and 3 is not equal to 2, so it's not going to skip for 2, the 3 and the 4. So anything other than 2 is going to be printed, and when it is 2, Python sees this continue statement, and that's how it lets you skip unwanted values inside the loop. So now let's move on to pass. Pass is another keyword, and pass does nothing, but it is used when Python requires a statement syntactically. Let's see an example of this code, another code here. So here you have a for loop, and you have an if, and inside this you have this pass, P-A-S-S, and this does nothing. So you might be writing a code here in the future, but you just left it with a pass statement just for now. So this is very, very common when you are writing code and you want to plan to add the logic later. And so this pass is, think of it like a placeholder. So in this demo, if you run this script, what is going to happen is it's going to skip printing this when I equal to 1. It's not doing anything. It's not giving any syntax error or something like that. It's just going to pass. And in the future, if you want to add some code here, let's say you want to go add some 2 or 3 lines of code, you can come back later and implement. But for now, you don't want to write the code, so you just have a placeholder here like pass. So the program is not going to complain or error out. It's going to run perfectly fine. So in this example, when I equals 1, the pass runs, which means nothing. Pass does nothing, as I said before, and so it then continues to execute the print statement, which still runs. So the output, as we see here, is 0, 1, 2. So basically Python sees this pass and does nothing here. It continues normally. So now let's explore those keywords in a more practical scenario. So imagine we are checking a list of test results, and here I have a demo code for that. And you can see here the test result, the list of values inside this variable. This test results variable has this list of values. The test results pass, pass, skip, fail, pass. So when we want to stop the loop, we need to stop the loop when we see a failure here. So this is a code for loop here. So for each result in the test results, we are going to check if the result is fail. We are going to say test failed, stopping, and we use the break statement here to do that. So the for loop stops and the program stops. So the Python, let's run this program here, and you can see here the pass is printed because the if loop, for when the value is pass, the first if condition is not executed because it is not true. So the break is not executed, and here it's not skip, so it's not going to skip. So for pass, it's not going to break or continue. It's going to keep printing pass, and then the next value pass. And when it's going to take the skip, and in the loop when the result is skip, it's going to fail the condition here, and it's going to match. It's going to be false here, and it's going to match. So the result is skip here, so it's going to print skipping the test, and it's going to continue. So it's going to continue the test, continue the loop, and the next comes the word fail. So here the if loop, if condition is true, and it's going to print test failed and stopping, and immediately sees the break statement here, and it's not going to execute the loop again. It's going to completely break out of this loop, and the program stops. So that's how you can see that it skips the test, and then you can see it also does the break, all in the same code. So it just finally breaks out of the loop. So this kind of control is extremely useful in real QA or any development automation logic. So let's combine the break and continue together, and this is another interesting example. And you can see here how we are using the break and the continue. So in this code, continue will skip the even number. You can see as the modulus of 2 of the number from 0 to 9. If the remainder is 0, we know that's an even number. So for even numbers, we are going to skip printing the even numbers, and if the number is greater than 7, we are going to stop the loop by using the break statement. So let's run this program, and you can see the output would be 1357. So when it is even number, it's skipping it, and so it starts with 0 and then all the way up to the 7. When it reaches more than 7, it's going to break. So it starts with 1, which is an odd number, and the next odd number is 3, 5, 7, and the next odd number is 9 in the loop. And you can see here the 9 is not an even number, so this is not true, so it's not executed. And here it comes 9 is greater than 7, so that is true, so Python executes a break, so it breaks out of the program, and it's not doing any more output. So using break and continue together, like in this example, can help you filter data and stop early. Now let's talk about a very common mistake beginners make: putting break or continue keyword in the wrong place. It is easy to accidentally skip things you do not want to skip, or stop early when you want to check all the items. Now let me show you what I mean. So always check your conditions carefully. Let's see in this example code, where this code looks similar to the previous one, but you can see the previous one we have the continue and the break, but in this example the order is a little different, and you can see the order is different. It looks similar, but it behaves completely different. So here the Python will hit break when the I is equal to 3, but because continue is before print, right? Here the continue is before print, even numbers get skipped. So even numbers get skipped because the modulus of even numbers is 0, and it's going to see the continue here, and it's going to skip, and the loop stops at 3 because we have a break statement here. So when you run the program, you see the output is only 1 because it starts with I in range 6, and you can see you may expect more numbers here, but the order of condition matters. So let's say I remove this, continue and put it here, and then put the break here. Let's see. So now the program doesn't print anything at all. So you need to make sure where your break and continue makes sense, and then arrange it accordingly. So the order of conditions really matters. So now let's talk about nested loops and how break and continue behaves there. So in nested loops, as you can see in this example, the break or continue only affect the inner loop where they are written. So we have an outer loop and we have an inner loop, and the break or continue here, it may be a continue statement or a break statement. It only affects the inner loop. So here is the demo script we have here. So in this code, the inner loop skips whenever the b is equal to 1 for each a value, right? So the output will show pairs where b is 0 and 1, and if it is 0 and 2, so it continue does not break the outer loop, right? It's going to do the outer loop as well. It only skips the inner loop where it is used. So let's run this program, and you can see here 0 0 is printed, and whenever it is 1, b is 1, that is the second column is the b values. So you don't see 1 in the second column values. The a values are here 0 0 1 1 2. So 0 0 0 1 1 1 and 2 1, where the b is equal to 1 is not printed because we have a continue statement, and Python skips the print statement. So now let's see how the pause is used as a placeholder in a nested structure. So here I have another example code where I have the for loop, and we have a pause whenever the value of I is 1, and you can see when the pause does nothing here, and it just moves on to the next one. So you can see here it prints 0, and when it comes to 1, it's going to pause, and when it comes to 2, it's going to print the 2. So we have 0 and 2 here. So that is how pass works. So now let's talk about loop with else statement. So in Python, the loops can have a else clause. So you can see here the for loop here, and we have an else statement also. So let's run this program to see what is the output here. So you can see here for each item in the range of 3, so 0 1, it prints 0 1 and 2, and the loop finished, and then loop finished normally is printed at the end. But yeah, you can see here that's how it happens. So for loop prints all the 0 1 and 2, and then else statement finally prints the loop finished normally. And this is how, so if the loop completes normally, so now if you have used break statement here and put a condition here, it would have come out of the for loop, and it didn't print the loop finished normally. So let's take a look at that example. So here I have another one. So here you can see the same script, but here when we run the program, let me run it and explain it. So here you can see it prints only 0. Why? Because when it prints 0, starts with 0, and then the next item is 1. So if the item is 1, it's going to break. So the entire for loop is stopped. And then the else block does not run at all. So this is subtle but powerful tool when you want to do something after a full iteration. So you need to play around and see. Let's say I remove the break statement here and run the same program. So you can see here it prints all the numbers here, and then it finished the final print statement. But in this case, what happened is whenever it saw the break statement, it didn't even print the else. So that is how it breaks completely out of this for loop and also the else part also. So let's combine everything what we learned in a real coded example, real life example script that a QA or a developer might use in their automation or development code. So imagine you are processing a list of API responses. So I have a variety of API responses like 200, HTTP 200, 404, empty response code, 500 and 201 HTTP API status code that we see in the response. So let's say you are processing a list of responses and you want to skip responses that are empty. So here you can see here, if the response is empty, we print the empty response and then we skip it using the continue. And you can see here, when I run this program, you can see it prints whenever the response is 200 OK, which is not empty, so this is not skipped, and it is not a 500, so it prints a 200 here. And then next one is an empty response, so it's going to skip, not do anything, it's just going to print empty response. And then when it matches the 404, it's going to not match, all of these conditions are false, so it's going to say processing. And then finally, when it encounters this 500 error, it's going to say critical error, stopping processing. And then it sees a break statement. That's when it breaks out of the entire program, and the program stops there. So this kind of control flow is exactly what real automation logic looks like. Now let's summarize what we learned. We learned what break does, we learned what continue does, and what pass does, and how these affect loop behavior. We also learned about loop, else, blocks, and nested loops with these keywords. So if you understand these simple tools, your loops will become much more reliable and flexible. They are one of the powerful tools every Python programmer uses every day. So in the next lesson, we will learn nested loops and complex iteration patterns so you can handle more advanced data structures. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. It really supports the channel and help others learn. Happy coding, and I will see you in the next video.